We always want a dad to kind of present their sons to the community around them, basically saying, this is my son. Let me tell you about him, and let me tell you
Yes.
why he belongs here as a man,
Wow.
why and why he belongs in this community.
You mentioned your daughter has on the wall of her room, like she can always look to that wall and know, oh, my dad cared. And there's moments shared. Do you call milestones? I can't remember what word you used earlier.
Yeah, just milestones is, that's just part of my our
Mm.
language here when we talk about these intentional moments. We want to create milestone moments, ones that are absolutely memorable. And but yeah, she's got a wall full of pictures, and to be honest, that's been the manifestation of this definition and the W's in my own life as a dad.
Yeah.
My boys come to me and they say things like, "Hey dad, do you want to go out to eat and get some sushi? And then when we get home, we could play some board games or we could go for a run."
Yep.
And I'm like, yeah, that's a great idea.
Clear.
Let's do
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
So my boys are, they're pursuing me. When it comes to my daughter, it's been a little extra work. I've had to learn a lot about her heart, a
Mm.
lot about how God has made her, and a lot about kind of what it's like for her when I come in the room. And so it's been a little slower for me, and I've had to like run some experiments and try things out. Um, but what's caused me to not give up, and all that's complex and quite frankly confusing to me sometimes about pursuing the heart of my kind of preteen, early teen daughter, has been this: no, I'm going to reject passivity and expect the greater reward by stepping in and creating some milestones for her too. And often it means I'm getting dressed up and
Yeah.
I'm taking her out on the town. So
So that is, I love hearing how you're thinking about like creating versus it's one thing to put on the calendar that I'm going to walk with my daughter down and share an ice cream cone, walk back. Like that could be a photo that's memorable, but she feels loved. She hears my words. We have time to dialogue and ask questions. My ratio is like 5 silly questions to every one kind of halfway serious one, right? But
that's good. I like that.
well,
Yeah.
but you're talking about more planning required. You're talking about like actually creating something, a special moment that she's going to remember. And I think I can grow in that area, like actually crafting, creating. What advice would you have for me on actually going beyond just the casual, planet on the fly, daddy daughter moments?
Well, you could teach me about being a little bit more spontaneous.
Mm.
Okay, because I think a lot of times, um, you know, the quality moments come out of many moments. So if you have many moments together, you're going to get a quality one in there.
Yeah.
You can't just plan intentionally. You can't plan special. It's like today's gonna be special. Boom. I
Yeah.
mean, but for me, months can go by, and I never want to be a dad that's still talking about it. You know what I mean? Um, I've often thought of this example. Two dads are standing in the driveway, and one dad says to the other dad, "Hey, I think I'm going to make a workbench with my son." The other dad goes, "Yeah, that's awesome." And they both leave. 6 months later, those dads come back together, and only one of those dads actually built a workbench with his son, right? So how does that happen? Well, it's like a 24-step process if you think about it. So I don't work with wood. I wish I did.
Yeah.
I don't. So I need to go and borrow some tools,
Mhm.
and then I need to go and find a plan on the internet.
Mhm.
And then I need to take my first trip to Lowe's or Home Depot.
Yeah.
First trip,
First. Yeah. Yeah.
right? I need to check with my wife to see what's in the budget. I need to clean the garage so we actually have a place to work. And okay, so you getting it?
Yeah.
You get it? Like it's a whole list of things. And each one of those things in moving toward the finished workbench is a hour here,
Yeah.
3 hours there for us. So long story long, unless this is on the calendar, unless I say I'm gonna clean the garage Tuesday and it's for the workbench project,
Yes.
or Saturday morning at 9, I'm gonna spend an hour over at Lowe's Home Depot doing the wood pull and finding the bolts and all this stuff. You know, Thursday at work at lunch, instead of I'm going to eat my lunch at my computer and I'm
Mhm.
going to look online for plans, like the plans to actually make, the measurements, the blueprint, right?
Mhm.
So long story long, the advice I would give to any dad who has an idea or who wants to take a step in is to really look like when are you going to do this? And I think it honors our wives too to read them in and to be like, look, on Thursday, do I have a kitchen pass? Can I go?
Yeah,
Can I
right.
take her? Can I take, and this is why I'm doing it, and to kind of get your wife's like encouragement and endorsement in that. And um, so for me, it's about planning and like my old basketball coach used to say, don't talk about it, be about it, right? Like, so
That's
anyway.
that phrase, I mean, intent, good intent as dads does not actually make our kids don't benefit from a good intent. They actually have to put the intention into action and do the 24 steps, right? Is that, I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, that what did the basketball coach say again? Don't talk about it, be about it. Is that
Don't
right?
talk about it, be about it, right? Like, you can
That's
talk all day about what's going on out there, but you get out there and do it.
and I
Go.
know this about me, unless it's like a couple other of my friends or my wife, and unless I have some form of there's others involved and they know that I've made that commitment, I I rarely will actually take all the steps to completion. Like I actually have to like bring that like intent and say, okay, this is my plan, and a few people are in the loop, and people are going to be asking me about it because I just know that I ideate all the time new initiatives to deploy when it comes to being a
Mm.
dad. So I'd love to go to like the dad listening that wants to grab a couple other dads and create an experience. And they know that, well, is it 13 we should start? Are there a couple key ceremonies or rites of passage? And maybe even explain what the difference is. Are there some just high level just to get something going that you'd
This is
say,
good.
make sure this is included?
I would say think about what you want to teach. What do you want to transfer? Right. So that's why I love this Raising a Modern Day Knight book, is because they give you don't have
Do
to make up the content. Like, this is really good content, right? This definition of manhood, the REAL, and the four contexts. And then what we have found works really well is have a short teaching. Like, let somebody open up the Word of God and speak it out. And I think scripture matters. I think story matters. And so whoever's going to be the one to do the teaching, break open the word, tell some stories, make sure the big idea is clear, but keep it short, 5-10 minutes. And then after that teaching, we like to do an activity. So if we're going to talk about work, so one of the W's is a work to do. We're
yeah,
going to talk about work. What does the Bible say about work? Let me tell you from my experience how I've been able to, step into manhood and work, and then do a work project.
yeah,
Like, get
yeah,
your hands dirty, like do something, right? And then so it's teaching, it's hands-on, and then I think the third thing would be that the father or the mentor of that boy looks that boy in the eye and puts the teaching in the context of their relationship
yeah,
and of their family and of their family story. And so if it ends with dad, it just feels good to me. So it's not about the master teacher, the person who
yeah,
did the teaching. It's not about the guy who ran the work project, who maybe is good at kind of doing things with his hands. So those guys are essential. But if it ends with dad, it's like the bump, the set, and the spike. So
yeah,
the bump is the teaching, the set is the work, like the hands-on, and then the spike is dad. And it's a case for dads getting together and getting their heads and their hearts around this before they go and, do like an intentional weekend or a little retreat, or, have a little like get together. Is you want to make sure the dads are like really there and cultivating a relationship with their sons. That way, when everybody kind of shows up to do something intentional, it's not like, look, my dad's never talked to me about anything, and
right.
I've never done an activity with him. Now all of a sudden we're going to do all of it, right?
Mm,
So it's preparing your heart, but also preparing your relationship, and then that bump, set,
yeah.
spike, teaching, activity, And then the dad that goes with that boy, putting it in the context of what only they know because they live together, they're in the same house, same story, same situation. So
That's super clear, and that will, yeah, move things in the direction of, man, the dad, even being the spike, like that moment of, oh, this is now really resonating and connecting because it's a one-on-one at that point. Now, what about ceremonies and rites of passage? Explain what those are.
yeah, this is really good. This is kind of a natural next thing to talk about. So I think ceremonies can be kind of micro and macro.
Yeah.
So at the end of every on this particular kind of backcountry thing that we do up here, at the end of every teaching moment, um, we do a we call it the letter ceremony. So R stands for reject passivity. And then we have that, we have actually have a letter. It's a brass
Hmm.
letter.
Oh, wow.
And we also have a wooden letter P. So P stands for passivity.
Passivity.
Okay, so let's go through it all again. So there's teaching, there's an activity, dads put it in context, and then they do a like kind of a mini ceremony where they bury the wooden letter P, and the dad awards and presents the brass letter R.
Wow.
So think about this. Why would we bury a wooden letter? Well, we're going to bury a wooden letter because what's going to happen to that letter over time? It's going to disintegrate.
Yeah.
And if you come back a couple of years from now, it's going to disappear. You won't be able to find it.
Mm,
And it kind of amplifies this look. You're becoming less of a little boy, more of a man. And we
love
want
it.
to see passivity kind of disintegrating and kind of going away. And so that's like one of these tactile, kind of memorable moments. And I would take a picture.
Yeah.
I would have that like hold up the letters. Dad's got his arm around his son, like this is a moment, right? So that's a mini ceremony. Um, we also encourage dads, whether their boys are at the high school level or the middle school level, or at the kind of they're getting married tomorrow level.
Hmm.
At those ceremonies, we always want a dad to kind of present their sons to the community around them, basically saying, "This is my son. Let me tell you about him, and let me tell you
Yes.
why he belongs here as a man, why
Wow.
and why he belongs in this community." And so it's in it. So there's ceremony around kind of presenting your son and letting the like speaking out loud to a community of men like this is my son, and then a blessing,
Yeah.
just a father's blessing. And you know, we don't know what happens when we speak things out loud, but I know something does,
It does.
right? Like the Lord of the seen and the unseen. Like I'm I don't know what happens in the unseen, but I think things do happen.
Hmm.
And when we speak blessings and when we affirm someone's character and how God made them and we do it out loud. I think that's biblical. I think we
Yeah.
see it throughout the Bible. And I think when we look to the Bible of like when a man did that, it like casts vision for a future, and it just calls out what is before the Lord and before people. So I think it's significant. So anyway, so to go back and
Wow.
summarize, micro ceremony I think
Hmm.
is important to kind of capture the moment, and then these bigger kind of corporate kind of everybody's together where we speak out. And one of the attributes of our community that I love to see this when it's contagious is that it's not only a dad or a mentor that's speaking out loud about their guy, their son, the community speaks out loud as well. And so we try to add this element in anytime we're kind of like calling people out to say, is there anybody else here that will speak on this young man's behalf? And it's like popcorn, man. People stand up. They're like, hey, I've known this guy. I was his soccer coach. And here's a characteristic I see in him, and just affirming him publicly. And then there's people like, yeah, I hung out with him this morning and we had a discussion. This is what he said. And so we're trying to make part of our culture that we speak out loud about each other. And man, that's countercultural, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Wow, Michael, there are, like, my heart feels an ache because I can't point back to a specific moment where that's when I became a man. Like that, like having that defined and guided in that as a young man, becoming a man, it's something I didn't have from my dad and from that circle of older men. And secondly, that moment of my dad and other men in the community in front of other young men and other dads speaking out blessing and out affirmation, and this is what we see in him, this is why he belongs. Like, I can't point back to that either. So the
Mm.
ache is now, the ache has been in so many ways God has sent and rushed in other mentors, leaders, friends, healing, and so many. Like, I'm so grateful, but that's still, it's an ache that I want every dad listening to like think about. Like, we can step into this. It's going to take work. It's going to take more than just intention. It's going to take actually all 24 of those steps to create and pull
Ah,
together. You got to go get that book to start with, Robert Lewis, Raising a Modern Day Knight, but just what you've, it's so practical what you've said and what you've shared and what has traction. I know why it has traction in Alaska, the Alaska Knights program. Like, I know why it has traction from what you've shared right now. And like, I pray that it will be seen. These will be popping up all around the world, that this will become more normal. I wanted to just give you a moment, Michael. Is there anything else as an exclamation point that you wanted to share with the Dad Awesome community?
um, for anybody listening who's like, "Oh my goodness, I get this, but I don't know where to start."
Mm,
I think sometimes it's just if you have one other guy that you know who you think would kind of get this, who would want to be intentional about their parenting, would want to create some memories. I have had times in my life where I've called up a guy that I thought maybe I'm supposed to kind of walk with this person for a while and have some intentional conversations, like not just drink coffee, not just have a meal, but like actually talk about some of the things that are really going on behind closed doors. I would encourage you to make a call and to
yeah.
just say that. Say, hey, would you be willing to meet with me so that we could talk about being a dad
Yeah.
and maybe take a step in together? I think, you know, but I always get afraid, like I pick up the call, wow, is this going to sound weird? Is this, is this something that other people are thinking about? And the times where I've taken courageous steps like that, I've always found the answer. It's like, yeah, let's do this. And you could read a book together. You could plan a kind of father son camp out weekend together. There's all kinds of things that you could do. You could hold each other accountable to build a workbench together,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yes. Yes.
but you know, if there's something that you want and the burden, like what responsibility comes with the burden? What responsibility comes with a heightened sense of urgency? And that's not to like shame, guilt, pressure. Not it's not about that. But really, if this is on your heart, I would say just move with it. Find another person and just take the next step. Our God is a God of next steps, practical next steps. Because what kind of a God would he be if he showed us the entire landscape and made us feel overwhelmed and discouraged? Like,
Right.
not helpful.
It's not his character. No.
No, find a friend, take a practical next step, and see what God does. And take some pictures as you go.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to be creative and go for it.
You already spoke some, um, just some affirmation, and like you really built up your oldest son, your 18-year-old, with just a few things you already shared about him. Your second oldest son, how old is he?
He's 15.
15. What's
He's the
his
one
first name?
that his name is Wyatt.
Why?
And trying new things
Yeah.
is I think the manifestation of this in his life. Just courageously
Yes.
stepping into places that you know he's going to give it a go and
Yeah.
expect reject passivity and expect a greater reward and just step in.
I wanted to
So
invite you as a model for us before you pray to kind of end this conversation. Michael, could you just share about Wyatt. Share about him, the man he's becoming, the things you see, just like you talked about, and just not super long, but like a minute. I'd love to hear because this lives on and something that he can listen to. He can listen to 6 months from now or 16 years from now. Can you just take a moment and talk about your son Wyatt and bless him?
Yeah. So what I love about Wyatt is his courage to try new things. And when I think of him, I think of these light switches that he is allowed to be turned on in the rooms that he's been in. So he has transformed from a boy who would sit with a 700 page book, make a tent fort in his bed and kind of private and quiet to, hey, I want to join the cross country team. I'd like to learn how to be a wrestler. I'd like to learn self-defense. I mean, just and I'm just like, you go, man, you go and try that. And if you get into it and it's not, it's not going to be kind of a legacy thing for you, you be you.
Yeah.
Because his older brother, he's the kind of guy, he gets his heart around something, he sticks with it forever, and that becomes part of him, his identity. And so I love the way that Wyatt's made, and we love his courage, and we love how he has not allowed, being kind of second born in the shadow of his brother, and it's not allowed him being kind of different get in the way of him pursuing the same definition of manhood and stepping out. And so when I think
Mm,
of Wyatt, I think of courage. I think of all things new.
yeah.
I think of just just willing and you know just willing to get out there, which is commendable. I love it. So
Amazing. Thank you for taking a moment to share and just model that for us as we think about how to really call out and use our words. Michael, I
mhm.
really appreciate this conversation. Would you take just a couple moments, a short prayer, say a short prayer over all of us?
Yeah, God, you're the perfect dad, and we're just thankful for the ways that through Jesus you've just modeled so much for us about what it means to reject passivity and to accept responsibility and to lead courageously and to expect a greater reward. And I just love that's part of your ways is that you put a model out there for us. And for every dad, Lord, it's a big role that you've given to us. It's a big role of impact, and just pray that you'd help each one of us to know what's next for the kids that we have, or for the spiritual kids that we have in our homes. What does it mean for us, Lord, to set the pace and to establish culture and to be intentional? Lord, just pray for anybody who's just overwhelmed. You're not a God of overwhelm. You're not a God who shames us or condemns us, but you are a God who gives us some next steps. And you certainly are a God who's creative and and shows us uniquely how we can step into all that you have for us. So pray a blessing over everybody who's hearing this. I pray that you'd infuse courage where it's necessary, and that if there's a dad who just needs to know that he's just stay the course, stay in it, that they'd be able to do that, and give us courage to pray, a passion for your word, and help us show us what it means to not do all of this alone. And I ask these things with great confidence, Lord, because I feel like I'm speaking back to you your design for
Yeah.
men and what you have for us because of the testimony of your people, because what's revealed in your word. And so with that confidence and in Jesus' strong name, amen.